In this video, I will go over how to create a spread and total dynamic expected value model for NBA basketball. Hello everyone, Jonathan here from Excel Help Now. Follow up on the first video I did on NBA expected value betting where I went over what expected value betting is, why the NBA is the best league in sports to start EV betting on. Then I went over how we can copy and paste Pinnacle odds into Excel and be able to create the matchup drop downs and money line and then be able to find EV betting through line shopping. So this is just to kind of take that one step further. We've got our money line covered. Well, there's two other, big matchup props that we can do, and that's spread and total betting. And so I'm going to go over basically how I've set this up. So it's it is pretty complicated. So if you're trying to do this yourself, I'll hit on some of the high level points. And if you're an Excel wizard, I think you can probably replicate what I've done. If not, all this model will be available for purchase. Link in the description on my Etsy page. But I just want to give you just the mechanics of how to do line shopping for spread and totals. So you have that, whether or not you want to pick up this model or not. I think it'd be helpful to go over it. So I showed how we go over to Pinnacle. We can copy and paste the matchups and odds into Excel. The big takeaway here is make sure that you're formatted your cells to be text formatting. So that's you bring up Control 1 to bring up your format cells and then select text. In order to, the reason why you do that is you don't want these copy and paste values to automatically calculate this -7 -107 +7 -109. Excel is going to, if it recognizes that as a number formatted cell, it's going to go ahead and calculate that. We need those separate values for our spread and total betting. So that's the big takeaway. And so the moneyline tab, we already did this manual dropping in of the matchups for the day. That'll feed automatically into this spread um, tab when I have the formula that I'm using in order to kind of segregate the drop in the +7 -109 to get our spread and then the spread line. I did that for each of the matchups. So there's the formulas I used. If you want to create this yourself and really confident in Excel, you can grab these and replicate this yourself. Otherwise, I'll just talk through basically what we're going to do now that we have our handicap lines and then the the odds attached to those. Same thing as far as the methodology of getting a true percentage. We'll take those big percentages. So we'll take the -107, -109 lines and we'll convert those to percentages. And you can see those total 103.8. So we have 3.8% of VIG in the spread matchup between the Celtics and Hornets. We need to take out that VIG to get us to 100% odds. So 49.8 and 50.2, which make break even odds of +101 for the Celtics on the -7 spread, and then +7 spread on the Hornets, -101 break even odds. So anything longer than those two at those handicap values, that's a positive EV bet. So I have a bunch of numbers over here to the right. And what those do is essentially says this is our base, the handicap -7 +7. And from there, I'm going to go up 2.5 and -2.5. And what I'm doing is giving you break even odds for all the different spread lines that could be offered. Because every sports book, they set their lines independently. And we can see here. So on the Celtics Hornets, everyone is showing minus, well, I guess they're showing -7.5, where Pinnacle is having 7 as their base. So we need to be able to convert our 7 to our minus to this -7.5. And you can do that on Pinnacle. They have this where if you want to do this manually, they have this little toggle button. You could grab the -7 +7 odds. You could devig them and get true win percentage, but that does take a lot of time, especially if you have so this Timberwolves Chicago line. You can see they have several different lines off. We have a -1, -105. We have a 0, a pick, and then on the Detroit, Oklahoma City, you have 5.5 and 6, and you can just see there's a lot of different spread values: -2.5, -3.5, -3. So you'd have to go through and calculate the break even go into Pinnacle. So it's a lot of work to do that for spread, and the same thing goes for total. So what I've done is I basically said, hey, I need to extrapolate whatever Pinnacle's given me as like the base value and be able to have the break even odds just easy to be able to visualize and graph. So let's walk through an example. So minus 7.5 is what everyone's offering except Pinnacle on the Hornets Celtics matchup. So if we go over here, minus 7.5 plus 7.5, we're looking at plus 100, plus 110, minus 110. And you can see there's basically break even odds on the Hornets, but nothing that's longer than minus 110. So there's no positive EV bet. And then if we want to go down to the Timberwolves Bulls, Pinnacle's putting that as minus 1 on the Timberwolves. And then we can see the break even odds are minus 101 and plus 101. So, but you can see that we have a pick value here on Caesar. So how do we determine whether or not that's an EV bet or not? And so if we go over here, we're basically going to go down minus 1 from the base and say, okay, minus 119 and plus 119. So if we do that, we can see that Caesar's this pick line on the Timberwolves, that's actually longer odds. So that's an EV bet. And I'll plug that in. So we'll go up here, go to the Timberwolves. We're getting minus 115, if I remember right. Yep, minus 115, and that's a 0 spread, and that was on Caesars. So the break-even odds were minus 119. So you can see our base was the minus 1, and then we go down 1 point, and it's minus 119, but Caesars is giving us minus 115, so longer odds. And that's a EV bet. So we should place $8.90 with 1,000 account value and 0.5. So that's how to do it. This other way you could do it is if you didn't want to like use what I've done as extrapolation, you could go over here, go down to the pick, which I guess Pinnacle doesn't even show that. So you wouldn't even be able to bet on that if you did the Pinnacle method. Let's do another example because I think this is a little complicated, but I want to make sure I hammer this home. Let's do the Denver Clippers. So there's a lot of different lines. And if you have 2 screens, this is way easier than me flipping back and forth. So we have minus 2.5, minus 3.5, minus 3. And so Pinnacle is minus 3.5, break even odds plus 104, minus 104. So let's see what the 2.5 lines look like. So minus 2.5 on the Nuggets, break even odds of minus 114. DraftKings has given us and FanDuel of minus 110. So there's an EV bet right there for the Nuggets. So we'll go up here, we'll do the Denver Nuggets, minus 110. That was on DraftKings, and that was minus 2.5 spread. So our break even was this minus 214, minus 114 at 2.5 spread. So $10.20 bet based on the fact that we're getting minus 110 on DraftKings. So go over to Pinnacle just to show basically where that would come from. So if you go down here and you can see minus 123 plus 103, you would take those values, you devig them, and you'd get to a value that would be the same as what I calculated here. And so what I've done is I've gone through all these values here. I'm basically moving up and down 9 points from the Pinnacle base. And so how I got that 9 points is I went through OddsJam half point calculator, or any half point calculator can give you the same values. And if you look here, it's going to say if you're at a 1 spread, if you move up or down a half a point, what's that worth? So you can see it's worth 5 up or 5 down. And then if you can just go pick a random one, 8 and 8. And so I went through every single one of those spread values for NBA, and you can see that essentially they all average out. I mean, there might be a little bit of noise. Essentially, it's a 9-point movement for half point for NBA. The premise here is every point is worth the same. And so I'm just saying, okay, anytime I'm moving a half point, it's worth 9 points. And then I'm just moving that. So you can see plus 108 plus to plus 117, that's 9 points of movement. And then to plus 126, 9 points of movement. So that's all I'm doing here. So if you want to create that extrapolation yourself, that's the logic I'm using. I just pulled up a half point calculator and just did a lot of testing with Pinnacle odds movement itself. And 9 seems to be a really good proxy. And I don't think there's any need to go more nuanced than that. So that's the spread. Total looks really similar, except for the half point value there. I'm using 5. Again, I went through the same process. I went through every single NBA total offered at the half point value and just see the movement is basically 4, 5, or 6. It averages out to 5. I say that every total half point value is worth 5. So you can see we're going from plus 114 to plus 119 to plus 124 to plus 129, moving 5 points and bringing in our over under that Pinnacle's offering, the lines, what the VIG percent is, devigging it to get us to break even. So let's see if we can find an over under. Go over here to our sportsbook review. That's what I like to use for my line shopping. Nice clean look. So let's look at one that has a lot of different lines here. Oh, here's a good example. So we're 230.5, 232, 231.5. So a lot of movement here on this Detroit, Oklahoma City. So Pinnacle is saying 232 is the base. So what does that 230.5 look like? You can see a minus 123 and plus 123. So really nice EV bet right now on DraftKings, just eyeballing it. So let's plug that in. So we want the over. So we're going to do the Pistons minus 110, and that was 230.5 on DraftKings. And so the break-even odds were minus 123, but we're getting minus 110. That's a really good EV bet. $28.8. You can see that the EV value percent is 5.24%. We should wager 2.88% of our bankroll. This is all the Kelly criteria outlined here. And the EV bet, at its core, so the sportsbook's saying that the over is 52.38% chance of happening. We're saying that it's actually 55.1% chance. So there's that's where expected value is, where your implied win percentage is greater than what the sportsbook's offering. That's positive EV betting, a really good opportunity on the Pistons. I'm putting Pistons up there, but it's basically the over on the DraftKings of 230.5 at minus 110. So that's how to use the total and spread. I hope that made sense to a lot of people. I know it's kind of complicated topic, but basically you can do this without having the model that I have. You can go into Pinnacle. You can look at what they're offering for 230.5. They don't even have that coming up. So that's a really big outlier right now. A lot of the other ones, 225.5, 226.5. Usually you're up plus or minus 1, but being able to kind of ballpark what the break even is and have some tangible ways of getting to that, I think is really helpful. So this is how to use the spread and total values. Again, I have the money line built in as well, along with a bet tracker and dashboard, all available within this model. Link in the description, available on my Etsy page. Hope you found this helpful. Hope you're getting excited and ready for NBA basketball season, especially for the EV betting part of it. Thank you for watching, and God bless.